They take him out, take him down to the local, it's just this little jail or whatever. And I'm with him. And the local jailer knew the guy because they went to like high school or whatever together. And they're talking about it. And I'm telling the jail, hey, I'm his attorney. He don't want to say a word. And he's like, yeah, whatever. And Bob's like rattling off. I said, shut the fuck up. It's like, don't talk, okay?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I don't know, I didn't really do anything. I said, just shut the fuck up, will you please?
Welcome to another great episode of Cases Gone Wild. It's me, your host, Jon Marko, brought to you by Marko Law. We have a great show today with some interesting, crazy, wild stories as usual with special guest. Neil Hirshberg is here to talk about all kinds of crazy experiences that he had, all kinds of crazy life and times as a masters of tax, right? Masters of
CPA and masters of tax and attorney.
CPA. Now, don't let masters of tax fool you because there's still some wild and crazy tax stories. I told Neil I was a little worried about how wild can it be, but trust me, we got a great show for you today. Neil, thanks for coming on the show.
Man, it's my pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
You're welcome. If you like the show, make sure you share with your friends and your family. Give us a like. You can watch us on our YouTube channel where we're videoing and have all the videos up for you, or you can listen to us where all your favorite podcasts are broadcasted, including markolaw.com. Neil, tell us welcome to the show, man. This is good. You're my lawyer, actually. As well, I'm happy to disclose that. You're a great dude.
Thank you.
You help me figure out and navigate the complicated things in life that nobody likes to talk about, like estates and wills and trusts and
tax stuff. All that stuff that seems rather complicated, but it's actually interesting.
You have some interesting stories I was reading over. So tell us about your background. You grew up, born in Detroit?
Born in Detroit, and then they moved out to Huntington Woods by the Detroit Zoo, and that was a nice place to grow up, a very, very nice place to grow up. And went to Burton Elementary School. It was a 4 or 5 block walk for a little kid, And I think back of that, and I look at people now. They got everybody drives their kid to the school and whatnot, and we used to just go out the door. Mom would put us out the door, and it'd be first grade, and you just walk to class. It was no big deal. They'd have safety patrol out there, and they'd make sure you cross the streets. So it was a very nice place to grow up. And then I went to Berkeley High, played a little football there, had a lot of fun, and then went to Michigan State and started in accounting there, and ended up getting my CPA. But had a lot of fun at Michigan State. One of the highlights was my suite mate. They had two, you had your room, another room, you shared a bathroom, and the suite mate next door was Kirk Gibson.
No way.
Yeah, it was Kirk Gibson. Kind of shocked, back then he was just Kirk Gibson. It wasn't, okay, who's this guy? Although you could tell just by this guy, when you look at him, even when he was playing, the Tigers and whatnot, he's just built differently. He's just long arms, long legs. You just see this guy's like an Olympian or something. There's just something different about him. But he was a very nice guy and a very intelligent guy too. But my God, these people like to party. I mean, I was the kind of the staid CP, accounting kind of guy doing the stuff next door to these guys, and they were partying like crazy. But it was a lot of fun. They were very nice, and then I graduated there. Worked at Arthur Andersen, the accounting firm. They were in the Rensen. I worked there for about 3 years, ended up getting my CPA, and in the meantime, I went and got a master's in tax in Colorado. That was a big deal to go to Colorado at the time with Coors beer, and everybody thought that was the coolest thing to go to Colorado. They had a lot of fun there. I got my master's there, and then I came back and continued working at Arthur Andersen, but I realized my future was not in preparing tax returns for the rest of my life. I wanted a little more excitement than that. So I ended up going to law school at Wayne, and law school was a lot of fun. It was a little bit easier because when I'd already taken my master's degree, and that was kind of like it's like a fourth year of law school if you get your your LLM.
Yeah.
It was really an LLM program, but they called it a master's of tax. If you were a CPA, they called it a master's of tax. But they were all lawyers in the class. It was incredibly difficult.
Why
for
did
me.
you want to go to law school after all this?
I just really enjoyed the technical aspect of tax and reading it and trying to figure out tax planning for people. Back then, the tax planning and the loopholes were more open to planning. Things were kind of wild back then. They had tax shelters and all that kind of stuff. So it was always very interesting to me. I found it just fascinating. It was kind of an accumulation of all the different aspects of law. You had to know real estate law. You had to know a little divorce law, all the different aspects, because each one of them has some kind of tax, implications. So you really had to have an understanding of all that, and then the tax, would be the tax analysis would be overlaid on that. So I found that very interesting, and worked at Arthur Andersen while I was going to law school. That just got like unbearable. I couldn't. It was too much. So I ended up leaving Arthur Andersen, going to law school full time, and then graduated and just started off on my own.
Yeah, from day one.
Yeah, I just said, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna do it." And I just started in my apartment up in Royal Oak, and didn't have any clients, nothing. But getting clients was always kind of easy because I had enough, as a CPA and an attorney with a master, so it was. If I'm preparing their tax return, that was kind of a big deal. I was way more, frankly, more competent, probably experienced than the average guy. So, so it was easy to get clients in to do tax return work. Once I got the tax return work, then there was always a spin-off of all kinds of stuff.
But do you go to court a lot in this field, or is this like a non-litigious type?
Yeah, I very little court. I did a little bit. When you're starting out, when I started out, I'm in my apartment, man. I'm sitting by the phone waiting for it to ring. When's somebody going to call? So I can tell you actually kind of a funny story about that if I think about it. So I'm starting out on my own. I'm sitting in my apartment. I got nothing, man. I'm trying to get tax. I'm doing like the people down the hall. Hey, you want me to do your tax turn? The maintenance guy. Hey, can I? What can I do? So anyways, my dad had a friend, was a guy, he was like a, kind of a cement guy, did all the cement work that he, for rentals and stuff. My dad had, used him to do all that stuff. And we got to know him quite friendly with him. His name was Hudson. And I actually got my first job with him. So I was doing cement work with Hudson and his two guys, Slick and Tom. I swear to God, that was their names. And I was out there busting cement with them. So I got to know those guys pretty good. Anyways, fast forward, I got my law degree. I send out my notices to everybody, and they're all, hey, I'm starting my law practice. Call me if you got a problem. So phone rings, I pick it up. It's Hudson. And I said, he says, Neil, he says, I got your notice. I said, yeah, send it out to everybody. He says, I've known you since you were like 6 years old. He says, I didn't think you amount to a hill of beans, and here you are. I was like, thanks, Hudson. I appreciate it. And he gave me a little work, and eventually, you pick up enough clients, and eventually, I got enough tax returns, enough corporate stuff, and ended up partnering up with a guy that I knew at Michigan State, the guy that we studied together, John Baum. So we formed a little partnership and start practicing there. And then he had a buddy who was an insurance agent, and so they ended up allowing us to move into their office. We were broke. We had barely enough to pay the rent. Between the two of us, actually, we shared a secretary and shared like a little office.
Yeah.
That's it. And we got to this insurance company, and they let us, we shared an office, and now I think about it, he had the morning office, I had the afternoon office, so he'd get it in the morning, I'd stay at home, and then we'd switch a sign, and then I'd go in there.
That's hilarious. You'd literally switch the sign.
Yeah. It was like Neil's office and John's office, and then the secretary, she was always getting it screwed up. Who's in the office today? They'd call. She couldn't remember if it was John or if it was me. Anyways, we did that. But we picked up a fair amount of work there. And, this is slowly but surely, you're picking up clients, and they're getting bigger, and they got a little more money, and, that kind of thing. And they're more interesting. And And then we were in this insurance agency, and that was a fairly good sized insurance agency, and they sent us a fair amount of work. And I got involved with a guy, one of the guys in there. He had been doing work with the police and fire pension plan in Detroit, and that was a pretty big deal. And they were making a fair amount of money, so they wanted me to do their tax planning. And back then, it was a taxes. People find this hard to understand, but there was a tax rate of 70% on unearned income and 50% on earned income.
No way.
Think about that. So people were. That's why tax law was a big deal back then.
70%
on unearned income, yes, and 50%. It was called a max tax. 50% on earned income. Like your W-2.
That's crazy.
That's a lot. So people were freaked out, especially like doctors or lawyers, people making good money, businessmen. They're like, good God, where's my tax lawyer? So tax lawyers were in demand. So anyways, they had us in this insurance company, and we were helping them. And this one guy was making quite a bit of money. So we became good buddies, and I was helping him with that. And I told him, I don't know how it came up in the conversation. I said, I always wanted to like ride in a cop car, at night. And
no way. So how old are you?
I would be 26. 27, maybe something like that. I was just starting out. Just got out of law school.
And you're like, it would be cool. Like, what year was this?
This would be, I'm guessing, like, let's see, I was out of about 83, maybe 84, something like that.
So I was like 1 year old. Yeah.
But look how good you're doing now. So
now I need a tax lawyer.
Now you need a tax. See, everybody needs a tax lawyer sooner or later. So he introduces me to this other guy. I don't know if I should name names, but they were there, and he was a cop, but he on the side he moonlighted doing insurance work, which a lot of these guys did. They fairly standard in the Detroit police force. So somehow they got the connections together, and they said, yeah, you can come for a ride with us, in the cop car, Friday night. I was like, great, this will be awesome. And so I go over to this guy's house. I don't know, can I mention the name? I don't know if I should.
Whatever you want. It's up to you, man.
It's nothing horrible. So his name was Mixon, and the other guy was Blackburn. It was two cops. And so I go over to his house, and they drive me down to downtown and get in his car. And
this is in downtown Detroit.
Yeah, this is in downtown Detroit.
Was it? I'm guessing different than. Was it dicey around the 80s or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Things were crazy. Detroit was fairly dangerous. Maybe it's different kind of dangerous now, I guess, but it was plenty of danger down in Detroit. Things, it was just wild. So they said, all right, their job. It was two guys. And their job was all the gun calls, which I did not know when I signed up for this. They just said, we got authorization. You can come ride in the car. And I said, oh, cool. Get in the, and then they tell us, our job, these two guys were to drive around and take all the gun calls. So it's a Friday night.
So like gun shootings?
Yeah. Anytime someone's got a gun and man with a gun, they call these guys. The regular these guys are running around the whole city. They just drive around the city. They would do their regular cop stuff driving around the city. But if there was a gun call, man with a gun at the 7-Eleven, these guys would get the call. They would race across town to this thing, or a guy with a gun, at an apartment. Give the call.
Why did they only have two guys for the?
Well, I think they had other ones, but these were the guys. And the reason is freaking dangerous. I mean, no one else wanted to do this stuff. These guys are like, yeah, we'll do this. They were, shall I say, they loved this stuff. I mean, they loved the danger. They loved the excitement. They loved racing around town. And they get this call, and it was like the first call. We're driving around. They're doing normal cop stuff, stopping people, traffic stuff and this and that, normal things. But then they get this call, hey, there's a guy with a shotgun in an apartment complex over on on the east side or whatever. So they get like racing like crazy, just like that was probably one of the scariest parts. Just getting in this car. These guys are going like, 60, 70 miles an hour down like 7 mile, like
through intersections and stuff,
breaking red lights and everything. And I'm like down in the car thinking, hey, maybe you guys just
are you regretting your decision?
I'm thinking this was probably not a good idea. These guys, they really were on the edge. They, it was like a high for them, like an adrenaline.
Like Training Day stuff.
Yeah.
You ever see the movie Training Day?
I don't know,
yeah, okay.
But there's plenty of cop shows where you see these guys and they love it. They love this, they love the excitement. It is exciting. I mean, for them, for me, it was terrifying. But so they race across town. They get into this apartment. They're driving around the apartment, and they see a guy, and they stop the car, and they both jump out, and they both start running after the guy. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. I'm in the car.
So do you get out and start running?
They told me to stay in the car. They go run after this guy. And I'm like, okay. And I'm sitting there, 4 or 5 minutes goes by, and I look down the street, and here comes a guy with a shotgun. Oh! I'm like, oh no, man. I'm like, holy shit. I'm sitting in the cop car, and they got the lights going and everything, and these two assholes are off running somewhere else. And I got no way of getting a hold. They didn't have cell phones back then, okay? I'm sitting there.
Oh my God!
I am starting to get scared now.
How close is he to the car?
He's like 100 yards down there, and I'm watching this guy, and he's walking down the street, and I'm looking for these guys.
And he's walking towards the cop car?
Yeah, he's coming towards the cop car. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm slowly sinking down in the back seat. And, he gets about, 40, 50 yards from the car. And then these two guys show up, and then he takes off, and they jump in the car, and they start racing after this guy. And they're running around through the yard, chasing around all that stuff, and then they just lose him. And that's it. And I was like,
oh my gosh.
I was like, next time, could you leave like just one guy here, or I'll just go with you?
Yeah.
And they go, no, don't worry, it's fine. Nothing's going to happen. It's just terrifying.
So why do you think this dude was walking towards the cop car with a shotgun?
What do you think? I was like, this guy's coming down at the cop car. What is he, crazy?
Yeah. I mean, you got to be crazy.
Yeah. And I was like, Jesus, so anyway, that was.
So did you ever go out on a ride along again?
Well, so the other one that maybe never go on another ride. The last one is I'm in this car.
So you did go on another one?
Well, no, same night.
Okay,
we're driving around. I'm cursing.
This was just all one night.
This was all one night. Friday night. I'm driving around. These guys, I'm cursing them out. Look, man, you guys, come on. I'm just a lawyer here. Just be nice to me. Don't leave me in the car. Don't do it. I said, okay. They said, okay, fine. Don't worry, it'll be fine. You're not going to get hurt. And so we're driving. I get another call, an hour or two later. This is like at midnight now. And they drive and they race down. This is the thing that's scary. So they just race down to this place. They pull up in front. It's in a little neighborhood. And it's a call with a guy with a gun who's got his grandmother in the house. Supposedly, I don't know, neighbor called or whatever. So they pull up to this house, and they got a big picture window, right? And they pull up in front of this thing, and you can see this guy's got a gun. And in the picture window, you can see this guy with a gun.
Is he holding the gun?
Yeah, he's pointing. I can't see the grandma, but I can see he's got the gun pointed because somebody must have seen this and called the cops. So I'm in the car. They jump out of the car. They go up to this thing. Up to the door, and they, knock on the door. I could see the guy who comes across. Finally, they like break the door, break the thing open, and they got their guns out. And all I'm seeing is this picture window display of what's going on there. I can see the kid over there. I can see them. They got their guns out. I am sinking in the car. Like, when's the gunfight going to start? So then the kid goes out of the thing, and I see them go across, and I can't see the kid anymore. I can see the two of them. A minute or two goes by, and then Blackburn comes out and says, Hirshberg, come on in. She says, it's okay, just come on in. And I
come in the house?
Yeah, I go, no, man, I'm good. He says, nah, come on, it's fine, just come on in. I go in the house, and the kid's still got the gun, and the grandma's over there, and they're talking to this guy about to stop, don't worry, we'll be fine. Telling the kid, just put the gun down. I'm like, I run out of here. I'm like, I'm done, man. Yeah, I still got the gun. I go, I'm out. I turn around, run back to the car. And they think this is like the funniest thing. They're like laughing. Like, it's fine. We'll get this kid. So finally they talk this kid out of his gun, arrest him, they call the other units. The other units come, and then these guys drive off and into the night.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that was insane. So Yeah, that was. There were some other incidents in there, but not nearly as crazy as that.
So that was like the first and last. That was.
Yeah, that was it. I would not ride with these guys. You get a better appreciation for police work when you see what these guys have to do.
Yeah, that's
this is like a normal thing for these.
That was like a normal night.
Yeah.
And that was just one night for you. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So you had some crazy cases, and you had talked to me about some of these. Tell me about this guy who wanted to sell pornos on was it a V8? What's a V8? Is that before?
Don't you remember V8s? They're like
a cassette tape?
Yeah, they're like this big.
Like a VHS or a V8?
Yeah. They call them V8 tapes, but they were like this big. And sorry,
it's not like that's okay. It's not like a VHS. This was the precursor to VHS?
Yeah, well, I don't know, VHS. I guess a VHS.
VHS was when I was a kid what we had. It was like a rectangular black, and it had like the little things, and it would be like Be Kind Rewind.
That's it.
Okay.
It's about this thick. And then finally they get rid of those and they lose the war and, the
CDs. Then we go to CDs. Yeah. Then DVDs.
So this guy, I guess I can mention his name. He's deceased.
Yeah. This case has gone wild, man.
he's well known in the porn industry. So he was not a client of mine initially. He was a client of a friend of mine that was in the same office, and he represented him for a number of cases. This guy was Mr. Porn in Michigan. He was the guy that brought porn and started putting it on 8-tracks, these cassettes, and selling it at stores, mostly like in college towns, where all the kids, who else was their biggest market, right? So
is he filming the porn in Michigan?
No, he didn't do the filming. He just had the idea of, hey, I can get these things. I'm not sure where he got them from, or if he maybe bought them from another state, brought them here, and then he was like the first guy to, he'd copy them over, sell them. Remember, nobody's going to admit it, but remember they had the porn. Well, you were too young, but they had the porn. When you went to the Blockbuster, or they used to have a bunch of these video stores. There were like hundreds of them when that video stuff first broke, and you could tape your own stuff. They have all the movies, and then behind the curtain there'd be like all the porn stuff, and they were fairly popular. But he was the first guy that did that. Those guys came in 5, 6, 10 years later. He was the first guy to sell these things, to set up the stores, copy and put the stuff in there. And of course, the government went nuts on him, right? I mean, this is, and then there
like indecency or something.
Yeah, and then he got sued on some of these cases, but he was not the guy that went to. There were a couple of big Supreme Court cases that said, porn is. Remember, the justice said, I don't know what porn is, but I know it when I see it. Yeah. So they had a bunch of big cases, and he was not the plaintiff in those cases, but when those came down and they said, look, can't stop porn. I mean, it's First Amendment, so all bets are off, and all the clothes are off, and everything else, and God knows what else. So he started mass producing things, and he bought up, he'd have stores, and he was renting the porn tapes, mostly to college kids. They had the money and the testosterone and the interest, and guys making a lot of money. So he set these things up in all the different college towns. Well, he was hated by the conservative Christian, people. They hated this stuff. They thought it was horrid, and they might have been right in some regard. So they were suing him left and right, and they were losing all these cases. They just could not win these cases. And they fight him on zoning, they fight him on nuisance, everything they could do. And side story. So one of them, he was in one of these small communities. He used to put them on the exits on I-75 and 96. He had stores there too for the truckers. Truckers like this stuff, and he had massage parlors and the whole thing. It was.
He was probably making a lot of money.
Yeah, he was making a lot. This guy made a ton of money. Never paid his taxes. That was the other thing I got involved in. Had a big old huge tax liability, he had these stores on 75 and 96 and up north too. And the truckers would stop there, whatever. And so they had, it was a massage parlor. They had all this stuff.
Yeah.
And people, this was the beginning of that. So people were freaked out about it. You know, nowadays we look at it and they go, you know, turn on the internet. It's all over the place.
Right,
now. We
right.
don't. It's hard to, you know, it's like a fish with water. I mean, you know, you just don't even recognize it anymore.
Right.
It's just there. But when he started doing this, was new stuff. This was you know, groundbreaking and scary for a lot of these communities that, you know, they're selling pornography up the street, and God knows what else is going on in that place. And there was a lot of stuff going on in those places. So they were always trying to bust him and everything else. And he was involved in all these other kind of lawsuits. Well, one of these small towns, he didn't tell me this because I got involved in this when he died, and I ended up doing the estate work. That's how I ended up getting involved in this. But I got all this stuff from his son and from the other attorney that told me all the stories that went with this stuff. And he, in this small town, they were just going nuts over this guy. They were protesting, and they were really outraged about what was going on in here. And they were suing him and everything else, and they were really trying to drive him out of business. Well, you know, he had cameras because, you know, they had VA cameras too, so you could buy cams so he had a lot of those cams that were tape recording on these 8-tracks in his store. So, and you know, they're just a security. But one day he's looking at the security tape, and who the hell does he see on there? What's the freaking mayor of the town in there?
Wait, the mayor of this small, what town was it?
I can't even remember. It was one of these towns like up north on 96. I don't know.
So was the mayor like part of this, like, you're horrible, get out of our town?
No, the mayor was buying stuff.
No, I know, but was the mayor also involved in trying to be like, you know, this is horrible.
This is terrible stuff. We got to stop this. This is horrible. You know, midnight, he shows up and he's buying shit.
The mayor.
And the guy sees, he's looking, he says, "Oh my God, it's the mayor of the city that's driving us crazy." So they didn't want to break any laws or anything by what would that be if they threatened him?
Like blackmail.
Yeah, blackmail.
Or extortion.
Extortion. So I think they just called the guy and said something like, you know, "We don't have any more of that merchandise in, but you come back next week, we can." And they were like, they never heard from these guys. Well, the town still was going. All the other stuff just kind of filtered away.
The mayor
never sued them. Nothing. It all just kind of went away quietly. The town people were still outraged.
Yeah, but the mayor.
He realized. Yeah, they got me on tape. Yeah,
that's always how it is, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's always how it is.
It's quite common.
So what else? So what else did you do? You represented the estate.
Yeah.
So like, what does that mean? Like when you represent, that somebody dies, right? And then you got to get all their assets and stuff.
Yeah. So when I got brought in because when he died, he had a huge tax. He didn't like to pay his taxes. They had a huge tax liability, and it had been going on, and they had been fighting with the IRS.
Like how much?
Back then it was about $1.5 million. It was a lot of money back then. This is 1984. 83, 84. And he, he was gone, but I was dealing with the son, and we were fighting. They had been fighting with the IRS. The other attorney had been fighting with the IRS forever. And then, nothing had happened, and the IRS was kind of coming down on him too, because there was a lot of this was just political. They did not like this guy. He was not well liked by the government, by conservatives, by religious people, and that this guy was
public enemy number one.
Yeah, they did not like him. He went to court a number of times. He won a number of federal court cases that this other guy represented him. I don't know.
It's like Larry Flint. Remember, like People versus Larry Flint?
It was that kind of guy. He was like a mini Larry Flint.
Yeah.
So I ended up doing the estate. So when we do the estate, you have to find all the assets and add them all up.
How do you find them all? Isn't that hard sometimes?
Yeah, I mean it is. Well, it's some of the stuff we were talking about. It's people don't keep good records, and this guy was not a very good record keeper either. So it was very difficult to figure out. All right, where's the money? What'd you do with it? The cash and all the other stuff, and so at one point we had to. We got to figure out the value of the estate. I mean, you got to add it all up for estate tax purposes, federal estate tax purposes, but you got to file your inventory, from the probate court. You tell everybody, okay, here's the assets we got. He didn't have a will. Who are the beneficiaries? That was a whole nother matter. He had a bunch of kids all over the place. And then, try to figure out, okay, let's get rid of this debt from the IRS and figure out what's left, and then we'll just, distribute it. So I gotta go look for the assets. So they take me, I said, all right, we gotta do an inventory of everything. Take me to like the warehouse, where all the tapes are and whatever else you got. So
like all the porn tapes and stuff.
Everything. Yeah. So it's like racks of this stuff. Just a huge, he had, I don't know, back then probably about 5 or 10 stores, racks of this stuff. And then we go down to the end of the thing, and I got to tell you, so here I am, about like 26 now. I'm not saying I grew up in a terribly conservative, overly religious background, but it was fairly conservative. So I go back and I'm looking at this inventory, and he's got like all the sex toys here that he's selling in the store, and I'm looking on the rack, and I'm looking at stuff, and the son was Tony, and I said, Tony, I said, my God, all this thing. I said, I'm looking at this thing, I'm like, what the hell is this? He says, oh, well, you put that like on your head. On your head? I was like, I was like, I couldn't even imagine this stuff. And there was like all kinds of, I'm going through the inventory. He's got like stacks of this stuff. And I'm like, you really sell this shit? He said, you wouldn't believe how much we sell this stuff.
No way.
Oh yeah. These guys they were making a lot of money.
That's hilarious.
It was kind of
so
shocking.
How do you sell all that? How do you sell a bunch of dildos and stuff?
That's exactly what, well, it was dildos one thing. This was stuff I had never even contemplated. I mean, I was like, people really do that? Oh yeah, they like that. Did
you find like a buyer, like another
Well, what
buyer?
happened was, no, they're still in business.
Today?
Oh yeah. They're not half of what they used to be, but it's still going on. We settled the estate, got rid of the IRS. We cut a pretty good deal with the IRS. They were just tired of the whole thing. This went on for a long time, like 10 years. And then finally we cut it. I think they were just burned out of the whole thing, and they just settled up with us relatively cheap. And, they paid that off. They had enough dough. They paid that off. And then the kids, kids got it. We had to figure out who all the kids were. That was interesting. He had a number of children around.
All over the place.
Yeah. A couple around. So we settled that up. And then, and then they got it. They're still running it. It's maybe 1/10 of what it used to be. But they still run it. They still do it. They make a living.
That's hilarious. Yeah. That's hilarious. Now, what is this thing about? You have a lot of these late night calls. So you get a call from the Michigan State Police that somebody's has a gun. Yeah, what's that all about?
Yeah, I had a client that was referred to me, and it was I don't want to go into too much personal detail, but this stuff was all public knowledge. So he was a union president out towards Ann Arbor at one of the unions, which I won't mention. And I get a call at like 3:00 in the morning from the state police, and I shake off my, rub my eye, pick up the phone. This is before cell phones. I pick up the phone off the wall with the cord. And and they tell me, this is state police. Is this Neil Hirshberg? Yeah. Are you an attorney? Yep. Do you represent Mr. So and so? Yep, I do. What the hell are you calling me? They go, well, we need your help. I said, it's not my normal hours. Call me back, man. It's 3:00 in the morning, for God's sakes. I told them, call me back. I hang up. They call me back like right away. No, you don't understand. This is very important. I said, it's 3:00 in the morning, for God's sakes. They said, your client is holed up in his house with a gun and his ex-girlfriend, and he's asked for you to come down and try to help figure out the matter. I'm like, what? This is I didn't sign up for this. This is not my retainer agreement, right? So I liked the guy, and he was a good guy. And I said, all right. Jeez, I'll drive over there. So I get, put my clothes on, I drive over. It's like a 20, 30-minute drive. I get there, and it looked like SWAT teams all over. It's the Michigan State Police. I got the SWAT team and the cop cars, and all the lights are going and everything. And they come out and they get me and they walk me in. It's like, and they take me into this room, and they got like all of this equipment, the sound equipment and taping equipment, like they were listening in on his telephone calls and all the radio equipment. I was like, good God. And they go, can you talk to him? I said, I'm here. I'll talk to him. So So I get on the phone and I'm like, we'll call him Bob. I go, Bob, what the hell are you doing? He says, oh, I didn't do anything. He's been drinking. So I said, look, man, I said, nobody got hurt. You just need to calm down. I'll come over there. We'll, talk to you. The police will come in. We'll do everything. So after a little while, he says, okay. So they like put me in the car and they drive me up to his house. They got these big bright lights on the house and everything. And I think what they were worried about, and they told me this, they said, if you don't get him out of there, if we can't get him out of there like soon, the sun's going to come up pretty soon. This is by the time I get over, it's like 6 o'clock or something by the time all this stuff happens. So these kids are going to start coming for the bus, and they get on there early, and we don't want him in the house with a gun if there's any kids coming down the neighborhood or parents. So either you get him out or we're going to get him out. And I was like, these guys killing the guy. So I said, all right, so we go up there and we're getting out of the car. And I hear he shoots a gun. I'm like, oh no! Jesus. And the cops are like, oh, pull out their guns. They're like ready to like light the place up. And I'm like, I jump back in the car, and they're like, and they drive me back out of there, and they're like, what the hell's what's he doing? And they didn't know where he shot. They just heard the gunshot. So I said, let me talk to this, and let me talk to him. My God, what is he doing? I call him back up, and I said, Bob, what the hell are you doing? And he says, I didn't shoot at the cops. He says, I just shot into the wall. He was pissed, right? I said, don't shoot the gun, okay? So
they bring you back up?
They bring me back up. I go back in the house. I talk to him for 15 minutes. I tell him, look, man.
Is he pointing the gun at you?
No. He put the gun down. He was a nice guy. He had a fight with his girlfriend. He was mad as hell. The cops come up. He shoots into the wall like, he's mad that they're coming or something, even though I'm coming up. So I said, man, put the gun down, put it in the drawer. They're going to come get you. You haven't done anything wrong yet. And see, the cops think that he shot at him. So they're thinking like attempted murder, right? And I'm realizing, it took me a little while to figure this out. I must say I was a little flustered by the whole thing. And I telling him, I said, Bob, look, you didn't shoot at them. You shot into the wall. If we can show them the bullet hole, you didn't shoot at anybody. You're good. Yeah, they'll be a little pissed off, but you didn't shoot at anybody. So, okay. So they said, all right, they bring the cops in. They put the cuffs on them. They take them out, take them down to the local, it's just this little jail or whatever. And, and I'm with them. And the local jailer knew the guy because they went to like high school or whatever together. And they're talking about it. And I'm telling the jail, hey, I'm his attorney. He don't want to say a word. And he's like, yeah, whatever. And Bob's like rattling off. I said, shut the fuck up. It's like, don't talk, okay?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I don't know, I didn't really do anything. I said, just shut the fuck up, will you please? Yeah. And the cop's like totally ignoring my, admonitions. He's trying to, oh, don't worry, it's fine. I know, Bob for a long time.
Was he trying to interrogate him?
Yeah, he was talking to him. And I told him, I said, leave him alone. He's got him in the, in the cell. It's like Andy and Mayberry, right? It's like one cell. It's like this little office. And I'm like literally almost yelling at the cop, like, leave him alone. He's not saying a word. My client can't wait to like talk to the guy. I'm trying to like tell both these guys to shut up. Finally, my guy shuts the hell up. And, that was pretty much it. Nothing happened to him. They just,
That's crazy.
I don't even remember what they got.
That could have went like the total other way.
They could have shot this guy up. They were like ready to light this guy up.
Is he still alive today?
He moved. I haven't talked to him in quite a while. He moved out of town. And I
what do you think would have happened if you weren't there?
God knows, man. I mean, he was drunk, he had a gun. He's
but did you say, look, I've been through this. I've been in Detroit in the cars. I've
got experience in these, man.
Hold on, Bill. I got a lot of experience.
Hold on, Bob. I know how this stuff works.
All right, so you wrote down some rules as a estate's trust attorney, right? So one is keep your will and trust in a safe, fireproof condition. What are you talking about?
Oh, yeah, I was, when you asked me to come, speak for a while, I thought, well, I could talk about, wills and trusts and how they work and, all the fancy things that people do. But it isn't, everybody can do that, but I thought what might be a little more interesting was, what happens when people don't do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
They say, oh yeah, I'll get to that, which, I've got many, yeah, we're going to do it.
It's something people don't like to think about.
Yeah, it is.
It's just
hard. It's hard to get people to sit down and plan what happens when I die.
Yeah.
They just don't want to. They don't want to.
You made me do it. I mean, I didn't like it. It's not fun.
It's unpleasant. Who wants to think about that stuff? And it takes a while to to get it all done and done right and all that. But
you do kind of feel better once like this is set up. So if something, God forbid, happens, your family's going to be okay. And
yeah, I mean, I said it's an insurance policy. It's really what it is. You're doing all of this stuff now so that your kids don't have to do it later when it's miserable.
Yeah.
And that's really what it is, because if you don't do this stuff, they're going to have to figure out what do you got, what are all the expenses, where's all the assets and everything else, and who's supposed to get this and who's in charge and all that stuff. Then all hell breaks loose. But in this instance, you're talking about you tell everybody when you're done, okay, put the will in a safe, fireproof place, or put it in a safe deposit box, or put it somewhere in the house, but make sure it's safe, and tell everybody where it is so they'll know. And the reason you tell people that is because of this one instance. I did this guy's will and trust, and he had he was a nice fella. He was actually he was in Vietnam. It was really interesting. He was in Vietnam. He was one of these guys that they recruited him into the CIA when he was like 19. That's what he was telling me. And he was the guy that killed people. They would send him out. I can't remember the name. It was a special unit, and they would send him out, and he would kill people. Kill the the head guy in this village, or kill, and he would sneak over there. He was like a sniper, but it was more than a sniper. I mean, he'd follow around, waited there, and then kill these people. And it haunted him. Even when I talked to him, it haunted him. And hey, man, he we did his wills and trusts, and he had a girlfriend that he lived with, and he had 2 kids. They were grown, and will provided normal split between them. And then one day I get a call, and from the girlfriend, she says, he's dead. I said, oh my God, what happened? He was in his house smoking, late up at night, and drinking as well, and fell asleep, dropped a cigarette, burned the house down.
Oh my God.
He's dead in the house. And his girlfriend, who happened to, was like on the couch or something, by the time she woke up, the fire's going all over. They were older. She can't drag this guy out. She just runs for her life, just save her life. She couldn't even possibly get this guy out by that time of smoke and everything. So, fast forward, 3-4 months, and they're trying to figure out, okay, what do we do? You did his wills and trusts and all that other stuff. And I said, yeah, we did. I said, well, where did he, I don't have it. We gave it to him. Usually we try to keep him, but I said, keep it, put it in a safe, fireproof location. So that he didn't have it.
You have mine, right? You keep it?
Yeah, we got yours.
Okay, good.
We got yours in a safe fireplace location. You're good. So, we can't find it. I told him, and I have like a receipt. We gave it to him, told him to keep it. Most people tell us, here, just keep it for me. You keep it, which we do. But he didn't. He wanted to keep it, so we can't find this thing. And he's got a girlfriend and 2 kids. So if you can't find the will, there's going to be an issue about who gets what, because
the girlfriend wouldn't be entitled to anything, right?
She's just a girlfriend,
right?
But in his will, he had left her some stuff, and I had a copy. Of course, we keep a copy. Copy's okay. It's not the original, and you got to keep the original.
Is the copy signed?
Copy's signed.
Is that good enough?
It will. You have to. You got to motion it up and have a hearing. This was a copy of his will. We can't find the original. Fine. I think this is a copy. Well, that's fine if everybody agrees. But if the kids don't agree with the girlfriend, they're like, no.
Then it's a whole mess.
Yeah. If she's just a girlfriend, he didn't have a will. She's not getting shit. Right? They're getting everything. If he got the will, it was split like 3 ways. So we can't find the thing. I mean, I tell them that, but I said, we got to find this thing. Can't find it. And the house is all burned down. I mean, the house is standing. This is in Dearborn. The house was still standing, but the whole inside had burned and smoked. And I mean, I don't know if you've ever been in a burned out house. It's not what you would think. It's like all the furniture is like smoldered and it's all like in a pile. And then when the fire department comes in, they're spraying water all over the place and tearing stuff out because they were still trying to find him and everything. And they eventually found him and took him out, but the fire's going and so they're spraying water. It's an utter mess in there. So, we can't find the thing. And they're like, well, what do we do? I said, well, I don't know. I guess, we can use this copy, but, there's going to be a little bit of a dispute here about, if this is the original and these kids want to, say maybe he canceled it. People sometimes, maybe he threw his will out and he didn't want it anymore. Maybe he got in a fight with someone and said, all right, that's it. I'm done. Throw it out. I mean, I've had that before too. So you don't know if this copy is, I know it's a copy of the original, but I don't know if he wanted that original at the time of his death. Maybe he had thrown it out and decided something else or scratched it out and wrote something new in. So Hirshberg says, all right, you know what? I'm going to man up here. So I put my boots on. I get my worst pair of jeans and shirt and scarf and everything. And I go into this burnt out house and I'm looking for this thing. I know this guy's got it somewhere, something. All right, where would this guy put this thing? And most of the stuff's just messed up all over. So I go into the bedroom and I'm thinking, all right, he's not going to put it in the living room. Put it in the living room. He's going to put it hide it in the garage, or he's going to put it in his bedroom, somewhere hiding in the bedroom.
Yeah.
So sure as shit, I go in the bedroom. It was still pretty horrid, but it wasn't as bad as the living room. I dig this stuff out underneath a bunch of stuff tucked under the side, under the blanket, lined up in the blankets. I find the thing. And,
no way.
Yeah, I find the thing and I take
Was it burned up?
No. It was the bedroom wasn't quite as bad as the living room and everything. That was where the whole, the main fire started. So,
where do you have it? Under his bed mattress?
Well, no, it was like in a drawer, like way down in the back, tucked under with blankets and stuff in there. So that's where I found the thing. And
you were like,
yeah. I was like, I couldn't believe I found this thing. So I take it back out, and they were all ecstatic. So that all worked out well, and we split it. They all three got something. So everybody
was happy. I mean, you just never know. I mean, we had a case, dude. Had cancer. I got him a settlement of like $5 million. Like the cancer wasn't related to the settlement, but he had developed cancer. Like he was with his fiance all the time. She took care of him. And I kept telling him, I'm like, are you you're good? He's like, no, man, I'm going to be good. Like the doctors are telling me I'm going to be good. Things are going to be okay. Well, I'm like, I call him to tell him we got your settlement of $5 million. His fiance answers the phone, is like, yeah, he died.
Yeah.
So now it has to go to through probate.
Yep.
And I'm like, did you make a will? Because he always had told me, like his fiance took care of him.
Yeah.
Like she was everywhere with him. And
this shit happens all the time.
No fucking will.
This happens all the time.
So now the fiance, who's like really nice, and he had told me like straight up, like, like she's gonna, get everything. And so now she's like left out. She's screwed. Yeah.
I get this all the time. I mean, this is rule number 5, get it done.
So I say, I'm not giving probate advice. You got to call a probate attorney. She does. And then she finds a will like 2 weeks later in the couch. I don't know.
Yeah, it's amazing how
comments.
It's amazing how you find these like handwritten wills. I've had that too, where you say, "Oh, we found the will."
But those count, right? Those can count.
You can write it out. You can do a holographic, sure. I mean, there's certain restrictions, but yeah, you can do it. And oh my God, I got one now where I can't even tell you about it.
It's too
same deal.
Next episode. All right, here's another rule of estate planning: inform your children and others what your financial plans are, so there is no surprises when you die.
Oh.
So, and let me ask you about this, because what do you do? Like, I'm worried about kids being spoiled. I grew up poor, okay, and I had to work my ass off and earn every penny, and my parents just didn't have the means. I mean, they gave me everything they could, but they didn't have the means, like I had to pay for my own schooling, all that stuff.
Sure.
How do you do this rule, which is informing your children and loved ones, like without letting them know, like, I don't want them to know, like, about, financial, think that they don't have to work, for example. Like, hey, dad was a successful lawyer, and so we don't really have to work hard.
I'm good, yeah.
So how do you balance that, which I have a concern, because, kids can be spoiled. And you see these trust fund kids, and a lot of them are really fucked up, drugs, and they just do whatever. So how do you do both of those?
Yeah. Well, I don't know that there's an answer to that. I mean, it's an age-old question because it's an age-old problem. I've had this conversation with a number of people because, I get most of my clients are, they do well-to-do, but I've got a few that are, 50, 60, 100 million. I mean, these guys are, over time, the small business, they've done extremely well. And they're just like you, they're like all of us. And, we start out doing okay, and then over time things do better and better. And, and then maybe get a little lucky. And before you know it, man, you're making serious money. And then you have kids and then they grow up, middle class, you do okay, you give them what they need, but nothing extravagant. And then by the time you hit, 60, 70, you got some serious money. If you've been working hard and saving and getting a little lucky and that kind of thing. And now you got 20, 30 mil and you're thinking, all right, I got 2 kids, and a wife. Okay. Wife will be okay. She can handle it. And then you leave it to her, right? She gets it when you die. And then you go, okay, now these 2 kids, and it's going to be, by the time they get, it's going to be twice the amount if it's invested properly. Invested at 7%, it's going to grow double in 10 years. It's standard rule. So, now all of a sudden it's like this huge amount and mom or dad's dead and now they're getting 20 million each.
A lot of money. I don't know what I would have done with some money like that as a kid.
And I've had, even if it's not 20 million, it doesn't take them a lot for kids to go berserk or to think, I'm going to inherit. Why should I work? I'm going to inherit like $5 million or $10 million. My parents, man, they don't look they don't look so good. They don't take care of themselves. They smoke too much or drink too much, and should die in another 10 years. I'll be good. And you don't want to. You definitely don't want to tell them that. But if you, I think the best answer is if you raised them right and didn't spoil them early on and showed them what hard work is and discipline and all the good things that they try to teach you, that they should be teaching you, then chances are by the time you leave them the money, you die and they get the money, they won't go berserk. There is one thing you typically do, which is you string out the money, you have it in a trust. It's a very common thing. So you say, all right, look, I'm not going to hand you all this money at once, and nobody ever does it. That's one of the best things for a trust. You say, all right, fine, at age 30, they'll get 1/3 of what's there. And
so it's like a leveled out. Yeah.
So they get it, they get it over time, and then you have a trustee in there. And this is probably one of the better, things to do. You have a trustee in there that has discretion to pay them the money over time, and maybe it's someone who knows them. It's a uncle or maybe even the lawyer who knows them. I have a lot of people.
Because it's a funny thing about money. I see clients, not just kids, but clients who get money. And sometimes it's a wonderful thing that can change their lives for the better. Like I see them start nonprofits. I see them, start their own business. I see them, some just save it away and, maybe don't have to worry about how they're going to pay the bills. It's just like a wonderful freeing thing. And then I also see people who get money and it can be great evil in a weird way. Like I've seen people who get money and, blow it on drugs or
drugs and
or go out and buy a fan. I had this kid. I got this kid a settlement. He was seriously hurt. I think I got him like $300,000. It was gone within 1 year.
Yeah.
He bought a brand new Hellcat. He didn't even buy insurance on it. He said, "I don't need insurance." Like I said, he went out driving at 80 miles an hour and totaled the car. Yeah. And then he was taken advantage of by others. He tried to, and it's like, dude, like this was a chance to change your life.
Could have changed it.
And you know,
They never, that's why I said, you raise your kids right. Part of it is, you teach them about money. You give them an allowance and you tell them to save it and see how it grows. And then you let them buy stuff and you teach them early on, how to manage money, how to live comfortably, but not excessively. And a lot of times, don't take this the wrong way. A lot of times they're just going to follow your lead. So if parents have been extravagant, and lavish in their lifestyle and the way they live and with jewelry and, excessive amounts of things, then the kids are
sometimes the kids follow. We all end up like our fathers, right? So what's the, and mothers, so what's the lesson on this rule being broken? Why do you need to inform children and others what your financial plans are?
This one is the exact opposite of that, of what we've been talking about. So if I'm remembering the story that I pointed out. So this is the reverse of that. So this guy comes in and he wants some Medicaid planning for his poor mother. She lives in Detroit. He didn't have a whole lot of money, and a lot of times I'll just do these things. I'm not gonna make a whole lot of money, but I'll do it. I say, hey, I'll help you out, no problem. So we figure out what, hey, she needs Medicare. What does she got? Well, she doesn't really have much. She's got this house. She's got a little bit of savings, not much, a little bank account. She's got a little car. And I said, well, I think we can get her qualified for Medicaid when she gets older. She'll be able to go in nursing home and Medicaid qualified. And he's telling me, well, I've been supporting her for 8 or 10 years. She's like in her 80s or something. He says, I go over there, I take care of her, I do all the stuff, and I take her to her doctors and whatnot, and whatever, whatever. He's a good son, but it's burdensome on him because he didn't have a whole lot. So she eventually dies, and we're collecting all the assets, what little assets he had, and we're going to put them in his name. Okay, fine, you can sell the house. The house is in Detroit. It was nothing to get excited about. And we're going to sell the house, and we're going to do this, we're going to do that. So he gives me all of her papers and whatnot. And I'm going through the papers, and I realize there's a bank account over at Comerica or whatever. And I said, that was not the bank account that we put in joint tenancy with you. I said, she's got this other bank account. And he says, yeah, and I didn't know nothing about it. And I go, well, you better go over there and find out what the hell's there. We got him appointed personal representative of the estate. So he's got authority to go over there and check it out. So he goes to the bank and calls me up and says, Neil, what the fuck, man? She's got $1 million in CDs.
No way.
At Comerica Bank. Or wherever bank it was.
That nobody knew about.
She didn't tell anybody about this, and she didn't tell him, and he's taking care of her. And he was it's like being distraught and happy and hysterically happy at the same time. He's going to inherit $1 million, but he's been taking care of his mother for 10 years. Going over there, giving her money, paying her some of her bills and all this other stuff. Meanwhile, she's got $1 million sitting in CDs at the bank. She never told him a word.
But you think that was the surprise or what? Or did she not know?
Oh, no, she knew. She just never told him.
I kind of like that, though.
She never told, as I say, it's the exact opposite of what we're talking about. So she just never told this guy about the money, and he's taking care of her. And then when she dies, she figures, oh, he'll get it. And, he did. But it would have, she never told this poor guy. He would have said, Mom, for God's sakes, you got money, but she probably grew up in the, in depression or something. A lot of these people, they just store all that stuff and
they just keep it away.
They don't. They just hide it away, and they don't want anybody to know about it. And if things get really bad, which in her case were on the verge of getting really bad, then they'll. It
would be there, yeah.
Yeah, but
so the moral is call you.
Absolutely.
And you did. What's interesting is there's all these vehicles that I didn't know about when I first talked to you. There's these asset protection trusts, and there's all kinds of things. So, you do things just for, I think everybody needs some level of this type of planning, and there's complex too, there's trusts and stuff for higher net worth individuals and all kinds of stuff. We can go
through the basics. I didn't, like I said, I didn't want to bore people with the lecture on, estate planning, but everybody, there's basic stuff that pretty much everybody needs. Just for God's sakes, get a will. It takes like 10 minutes to get a will. It costs you like $100. You should have a will. And then you should tell people where the will is, keep it in a safe place. And then tell people what your assets are and who you've designated as your, personal representative. So when someone dies, I can't tell you how many, even right now, I have a bunch of cases, 4 or 5 cases going right now. People, they didn't tell their family members what was going on, what the plan was. So when they die,
chaos.
It is. Hopefully he's got a will. If he doesn't have a will, it's chaos. They're all like, well, people run into the house and they, when parents die or mom dies, or they run into the house, they start taking shit out of the house that they wanted, and then they're all pissed off, and
then it ruins families forever.
Oh my God,
Yeah,
I got one of these going on now. I will not mention any names, but yes, it's heartbreaking.
It's sad to see because it's against. I was saying that I'll leave on this note, but there's my grandfather. I have a really nice grandfather clock out there. Okay. And it's like the Herman Miller, like premier special edition. Like you can't get, there's like grandfather clocks. And then there's this thing. I mean, this thing is like the premier, like highest level grandfather clock, custom edition. They only made like 50 that year. Well, how I got it. This guy was in Hazel Park, small house, like a cinder block type house, 1-bedroom house. The ceiling was so small that he had to poke a hole into the ceiling to allow the grandfather clock to even fit in the house.
Oh my God.
Totally out of place in this house, right?
Yeah.
So this guy was dying, and he bought this grandfather clock that I now have in there. And his idea was he didn't have a lot, but he wanted something special that would be able to be passed down through the family rather than just, here's, X amount of money,
sure,
which, is nice, but, it's money. It's going to go into a bank account. It's going to flow somewhere else. So he bought this clock. He put it in his house, passed away. So sad because the kid said, I don't want this clock.
Oh my God, seriously?
So the realtors sold his house, his little cinder block house, probably sold for like $90,000 or something.
Oh my God.
Whatever it was. And they said, you just got to get rid of this clock. I just was so sad because she called me. It was a friend and said, hey, there's a beautiful grandfather clock here in Hazel Park. You're not going to believe it.
Yeah.
Do you want it? And I said, yeah, I'll be there and I'm going to take it. But I said, don't the kids want it? It just was sad.
Yeah.
To see this was like,
you talk to your kids, as you get older, you're 80, 85 years old, talk to them, say, hey, or what I tell people too is don't wait until you die to give this stuff to people. You're 85, 90 years old. How much jewelry do you need? Do you really need this clock? If you give this clock to some kid while you're alive, or find out if he really wants it, hey, maybe one of the kids said, I said, you should give it to them while they're alive. It will mean so much more coming from you. You can tell them the history of it. They'll remember Grandma and Grandpa gave me this watch or this piece of jewelry or their Bible or their shotgun or whatever it is. There's something there. And you hand that stuff out and it's way more meaningful. Yeah. I made my mom do that. She had a bunch of jewelry. And I said, Mom, you need to start giving this to these kids. She had a bunch of jewelry. Just give it to them. And when I go over to my my nieces and nephews, they all got like little stuff and they all they wear it and they love it.
This ring, my grandfather's ring.
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about.
This is my grandfather.
This is what I'm talking about. You remember it, yeah.
I remember,
it carries
morbid stuff, man. But hey, it comes for all of us, doesn't it?
Yeah, sooner or later.
Thanks, Neil. This was great. It was really good to see you again.
It's nice seeing you.
Keep that will safe.
Keep it safe.
Don't lose it.
Put it in a safe place.
All right, everybody, big thanks to Neil Hirshberg coming on. If you need estate planning, tax planning, any of that type of stuff, give Neil a call. He's a great guy, a great lawyer. Otherwise, if it's not estate planning, you know who to call. You got to better call Jon Marko and Marko Law. It is markolaw.com, M-A-R-K-O, law.com, or give us a call. Our new number is 313, all sevens, baby. 313-777-7777. We're going to see you in another 2 weeks here on another great episode of Cases Boys Gone Wild.